Hey guys, so now I'm going to show you the app that I use for tracking sleep, and it's called Airtable. This is probably one of the coolest apps for desktop or mobile or tablet that I've ever used, either personally or in my business. It's been a total game changer, both personally and from a business perspective. And let me just show you how it works. And by the way, this is a totally free app. I don't get anything from recommending this app to you, so you can go on airtable.com and sign up for free. It's totally legit. Now, all right, so what you do is you basically create these so-called bases, and these are like home bases, your hubs for certain types of activities. So I have a business called MemberFix, so I have all of my stuff related to MemberFix here. I have another business called speedkills.io. Here's all my speedkills.io stuff. Then I have stuff for my website, vicdorfman.com, stuff for a side project that my business partner Leslie and I kind of work on sometimes called Coffee Squid, and then some miscellaneous stuff like some GIFs that I'm collecting, just random stuff, my lifting, my gym log basically. And let me open my gym log just to show you real quick what it looks like. So you can see that it kind of looks like a spreadsheet, but it ain't a spreadsheet, all right? It is a searchable visual database, and it's way more powerful than a spreadsheet, and it also works really well on your phone. It's very intuitive. And I built this table from scratch, and you can see that basically I have a date, so that's the date that I'm doing a given exercise, and then I have the exercise that I'm doing, the weight in kilograms, the number of reps, the rest in between sets, the number of sets, notes about the exercise, and any tags that apply to the exercise, like kettlebells or lower back, upper body, whatever. And the reason I do this is because then I can really easily sort this information at a later date, and you'll see why this is so useful for tracking sleep. See, Airtable has these views. So we have a master view that has no filters, no sorting applied. It's just all of the information on the page. But let's say I want to see what I've been squatting for the past, few weeks, or as long as I've been tracking this. Well, I have created a view called the squat view, and it shows me, using a filter, only the entries where the name of the exercise contains the word squat. So as you can see, you might enter information in different ways. So you can see here I entered in barbell squat on one day, then I just entered squats on another day, then I entered pistol squat, which is a one-legged squat, on yet another day. And it allows me to really quickly see what my progress has been. So I started out at 97.5 kgs, then 5 days later I went down to 87.5, and I left myself a note saying, hey, I'm cycling down from this higher weight to this lower weight because I'm beginning a new cycle, right? Like, so you go low to high, and then you drop back down a little bit higher than when you started the first time, and you sort of stagger your approach. So this is for exercise, right? It's just an example. But let's get back to the task at hand, which is tracking sleep. And here is my sleep log. And you can copy this 100%. I don't think there's a way for me to actually share these templates with you. If I do find a way, of course, I'm going to put it right below this video. But basically, I've kept this really simple. And the simplicity is the key because it only takes you 60 seconds a day, basically. So the way it works is this. We have a few different columns. The time that you go to bed, the time that you wake up, the approximate hours of sleep that you got, any notes about the day that you went to sleep. So like if you had some wine or if you worked out real hard, anything that might affect your sleep, you'd put that in here. And then some quick and easy tags. And the tags that I picked are, I only have 3 tags so far, I have a few tags, don't I? I have alcohol is a tag. It means that I drank some alcohol that night. Late meal, ooh, that's a tag because if you eat a late meal, fucks up your sleep, right? So late meal is an important tag, and I want to be able to sort all of the entries based on that. Mosquito. I live in Thailand, so sometimes there's a mosquito in my room terrorizing me while I sleep, and I have to kind of like wake up, jump out of bed, turn all the lights on, kill the mosquito before I can rest in peace. Basically, it's a thing in the tropics. Late browsing. What this refers to is if I'm on my computer or on my phone past, let's say, 10 p.m. That's kind of the cutoff point, and I'm, looking on YouTube, I'm looking on Facebook, basically wasting time, like reading articles and just being a jerk off online. That is a tag because there's science to back up that, and common sense backs it up as well, that if you're online and you're stimulating yourself and you're looking at this glowing screen, it's going to affect your sleep, and it does affect your sleep is what I found. And the final tag that I have here is ice bath. I love ice baths. There's a sauna not far from where I live. They have a nice steam room and an ice bath with literally just giant blocks of ice. And that too has been proven to help you sleep. So I wanted to enter it in as a factor when I'm looking at all of my entries later on. And then you can sort of see like, oh, well, today I took an ice bath and I slept really well. Or, hey, I can see that all of these days that I had alcohol, my sleep quality wasn't so good, and so on and so forth. And you don't have to use, my exact layout. This is just a template that works for me. One thing that I should probably include is, sleep quality that I rate when I wake up in the morning. And I might do that, but just to keep it simple, I'll just leave it as it is. And here is how you would do an entry. And actually, today is the 11th, and last night I didn't do an entry, so I'll do an entry right now. So when you click on the date, on the time to bed, it brings up the date field, and I'm going to select Saturday the 10th. And now I'm going to select the time that I went to bed. Now, if I recall correctly, I went to bed last night around 11:30. Actually, it might have been a little bit later than that. I'm gonna say I went to bed at I think it was actually around 1. It might have been around 1 a.m. Now I realized that putting 1 a.m. would actually make the date the 11th because it's technically the next day, but I don't think it's necessary to get all technical here. And then I woke up today at 10 a.m. Today is Sunday, and I worked out real hard yesterday, and I stayed up kind of late. So whatever. I don't beat myself up too much if I mess up one day per week, but I try not to. I was good about it before, but I kind of slipped. So the 11th, cool. And I woke up at 10 a.m. I woke up before that actually, but I stayed in bed. I just ignored my alarm, and you can see here that approximately I got 9 hours of sleep, but actually I probably fell asleep around 1:30. So I'm gonna go ahead and say 8.5 hours of sleep because I read in bed as well. So notes. Let's see. I had a glass of wine last night. Actually, I had 2 glasses of wine, didn't I? I had 2 glasses of wine. I did some late browsing. And I had a phone call with my girlfriend that was kind of late as well. And what other stupid things might I have done? And I had a really hard workout, actually. Lifted weights and went to jiu-jitsu. So that's a lot of exercise, right? And I went to the beach as well. So I'll say, and I had a late meal as well. So I kind of did everything wrong that day in terms of stuff that usually messes up my sleep, right? And this is the whole point, is that you can go back and you can see stuff that you've done wrong, and you can, and I'll show you the power of this in a second. I did some late browsing, okay? So Great. So now you know all of the stuff that you're messing up. How does that help you? Well, if you go back and look through your data, let's say that we want to look at the way that alcohol affects your sleep. Cool. So we're going to create a filter that looks for the tag alcohol, and it's only going to show the entries where alcohol is involved. All right, so let's take a look at something. On this first entry, you can see that I drank 2 glasses of wine and a beer, and I did some late browsing on this particular day, and I had to sleep for 9.4 hours, which is insane. Like, why would I sleep? And I went to bed really late. All right, let's see this one. I had 2 glasses of wine before bed, and I had 5.2 hours of sleep. Okay, so that's not very much. So I either overslept or I underslept. Here's another one. I had a glass of wine and a small meal at around 9 p.m., and I wound up sleeping 9 or 11 hours. Now, obviously, correlation does not equal causation. It doesn't necessarily follow that if you have a glass of wine and you sleep 11 hours, that the glass of wine caused you to oversleep. No, because there's other factors involved. But we're looking for a pattern. We're looking for different patterns. All right. Got 10 hours of sleep on this particular day, and I had a beer. All right, glass of wine on this day, slept 9 hours. Had a beer this day, slept 10 hours. Had a beer this day, slept 6 hours. Had a beer this day, slept 6 hours with restless sleep. And then I had some alcohol. I believe I had a beer on this day, 1 beer. And I got 11 hours and then 8.5 hours yesterday. Okay, that kind of isn't enough information to really draw any kind of conclusions, but notice something else. Notice that when alcohol is involved, there also tends to be a late meal correlated, or late browsing. And I'm sure you've observed this in your own life, that if you do one bad habit, it could cause a downward spiral of all of your other bad habits, where you just basically go out of control in a minor way, or it could be in a major way. I mean, some people, all it takes is one, for a legitimate alcoholic who has a legitimate alcoholic dependency, that they just need one drink, man, and they'll just go on a bender. Same thing with a drug addict. And all of it has to do sort of with habits, right? Well, some of it is genetic, of course, but even though I wouldn't consider myself an alcoholic, because I can stop drinking, after one or two drinks, I still have noticed that if I have a drink, that, okay, it'll result in me lowering my inhibitions. That's what alcohol does. And I'll wind up maybe eating late at night when I know I shouldn't. Or I'll wind up, surfing the web for 90 minutes, 2 hours, until like 1 a.m. when I know I shouldn't. Because the alcohol lowered the inhibitions. And I've sort of told myself, like, oh, all right, I already had a glass of wine or 2 beers. Well, I've already ruined the night, so why don't I just ruin it completely? And that's the kind of stupid shit that goes on in your head, and the kind of stuff that you're trying to bring awareness to. Let's look at another example, and let's say, what else? Let's look at the late browsing example. So let's look at tags, late browsing. All right. So I think the thing to notice here is with the late browsing, pretty much all of the times to bed are after 10 p.m. Look, we got 1:13 a.m., 10:30 p.m., that was a good day, 11 p.m., 11:30 p.m., 11:48, midnight, 1 a.m. So if you're, what this tells me, right, if I'm looking at my own information and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, damn, every night that I browse the internet late, or if I'm like messing around on YouTube or Facebook or something, I go to bed really late. Well, what is the result of going to bed late? It means that if you try to wake up early, you're going to be exhausted because you didn't get enough sleep. shit, well, why did I stay up browsing late? Oh, maybe it's because I had that glass of wine and it eroded my willpower. So what I've found by doing this, and the reason I'm sharing it with you, is I think it's so powerful because it's not somebody else telling you, like, hey, Vic, you shouldn't be looking at YouTube late at night because it's going to mess up your sleep schedule. You'll reject other people's good advice a lot of times, but when you're tracking your own data, it's making you aware in that moment, first of all, that like, man, I shouldn't be doing this. You feel that pang of remorse. You feel a little bit guilty and mindful of what you've done. And then when you're looking at your own data, the data that you yourself tracked, and you see the undeniable pattern staring you back in the face, you have no one to blame but yourself. You can't reject anybody else's advice because it's your own experience staring you in the face, okay? And at that point, well, it's time to like make a decision and say, stop doing stupid things if you want to progress on your goals. At least that's how I view it. And you can see by my data here that I'm far from being the model sleep citizen that I want to be. But I have found, and this is the other benefit of doing this, is the more that I attempt to become an early riser, the better that I get at it. And that's something that I absolutely had no idea. Nobody ever told me. I thought you were either good at it or you suck at it. And if you suck at it, you're doomed for the rest of your life to kind of suck at it. And it's your chronotype, or it's, it's just how you sleep and wake, or you're a night owl, and all of these kind of bullshit things that aren't really true and don't have much of a scientific basis, including the chronotype thing. That one is kind of contentious. What it's basically telling you is that you've built all of these bad habits, and now you have to unravel them one by one. And it's not going to be easy, but the more that you attempt it, and the more successes that you see, the easier that it gets. And that's what I've been finding since I've started doing this, is my consistency has improved. So this is how you use the app. And let me just show you real quick too how you can create your own table. So I'm going to create an empty table. I'm going to say blank table. All right. And what you have is you have all these different fields. Like you have the customized field type. So you have, and these are pretty self-explanatory, right? So you have a single line text field, you have a long text field. This is for like descriptions and long paragraphs. Date, phone number, email, URL, number, currency. All of these are pretty self-explanatory. If you're building a sleep log, all you really need is you need a date. Okay, and you'll include the time field. I like to keep the 24-hour clock. All right, click save, and then that'll be your time to bed. And what I do is on my phone, like right before I go to bed, I'll just switch on the Airtable app. I'll find this table, and I'll just double click just like I do on this app, and I'll say, all right, cool, this is the time to bed, and I'll go to bed. Actually, right before I'll go to bed, I'll also make any notes like I had a glass of wine. Cool. Don't really need an attachments field, so we'll customize it, and we'll change it to multiple select, and I'll call this one tags because I just find it useful to have tags. And I'll say like alcohol is a tag, late browsing is a tag, exercise could be a tag, ice baths are a good one for me. Whatever you want here. Cool. And then you can create another field by clicking insert right, and saying, all right, well, what time did I wake up? Wake up time. And we'll make it a date as well. We'll include a time field. We'll make it 24 hours. And we'll click save. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this wake up field. I'm going to drag this little bar here. So now we have two primary fields, right? The two main fields are the time to bed and the time that you wake up. Cool, so I woke up at this time. I only got a minute worth of sleep according to this, right? And let's say you want to add a field that tells you like how many hours of sleep you got. Cool, you can do that. Just say hours of sleep. And we'll just make it a number. Make it a number field. Then you format the number, and I'm going to keep it as a decimal, right? Because you want to be able to say like 9.5 hours instead of just 9. All right, so we'll say we got 9 hours of sleep. Tags, alcohol. And there's your sleep log. And then, you know, once you do this, let's say for a month or so, you'll have enough data to go back and filter all of your data, just like I did here, using these filters, which are really self-explanatory and pretty intuitive. And you could start to see the relationship between what you do and the results that you get. All right, and soon, hopefully, Airtable is going to be releasing some graphing features which will allow you to see visually how all of these different things correlate with one another. So I hope this has been useful. I know this isn't like the typical advice when it comes to becoming an early riser and getting your sleep handled, but for me it's been instrumental, and I'm going to continue to keep tracking it, and hopefully these numbers will improve and even out and lock into place over time. And so far so good. So hope that's useful. Leave your comment below. Let me know what you think, and let me know how else I could help you rise and shine for life. Us.